Hi, my name's Thea and I'm a workplace wellbeing advisor, and I'm also founder of Nap Now, which is working to normalise the power nap in our professional and our personal lives because it's just such a great renewable energy practice. And today I'm joined by Dr. Sarah Blunden, who's a paediatric sleep specialist at Central Queensland University. So thanks so much for joining us for this second edition of Nap Chat, Sarah.
That's my pleasure, Thea.
Yes. Now, your work involves both research and practice, and you're saying that of your client base, about 30 to 40% are made up of teenagers. Many of these are very tired by the time they come to see you. And for some of these teenagers, you actually prescribe the nap. Can you tell me how that works?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Teenagers have a tendency to sleep in late in the mornings and go to sleep late at night. During the week, however, they can't do that because they have to get up to go to school. So they tend to fall short of their sleep need during the week and often will need to catch up that sleep on the weekend. However, that's really unhelpful in terms of sleep health because sleeping on the weekend makes our sleep-wake schedule very variable from during the week to during the weekend. So rather than sleep in lots on the weekend to catch up that sleep debt, if you like, I prescribe a power nap daily, if that's necessary, to catch up those hours. The power nap, the 20-minute power nap, can actually give an adolescent 3 hours of high performance time. So if they come home from school and they're really wiped out and they need to get their homework done or go to sport practice or something, and they need some performance time and they need to be able to be on top of their game, a 20-minute power nap would be perfect. It has to be carefully placed. It can't be too close to bedtime, but a 20-minute power nap is really much more helpful than sleeping on the weekend to catch up your sleep.
And what would you say to people who would say, well, really we need to solve the overnight sleep problem and that napping is not a substitute for a good night's sleep? So, let's not band-aid over it with just giving them a nap. What would you say to that objection?
Yes, I agree that in a perfect world, we would all be sleeping perfectly overnight and having as much sleep as we needed to and not having to get up to go to school or stay up late to do our homework or be overloaded with work or social activities in a perfect world. But we're not in a perfect world, and it's necessary to be flexible and logical about the fact that if we are staying up late to do our homework or we've got things on our minds and we don't get enough sleep, it's much, much better to get that nap than to get nothing at all. So rather than not napping is a part of a sleep health strategy that is as important as other health strategies. It's like a strategy, like if you want to lose weight, then you cut down on your sugar. If you want to get more sleep, you can use the nap.
Sure, and I guess the nap is a healthier alternative to caffeine, isn't it? How much of a problem is caffeine amongst the teenagers that you see?
My understanding is it's actually a really rather big problem, particularly since, interestingly, many school canteens have stopped the sale of caffeine additive drinks, but students will go to the local deli or the local shop after school at about 4 o'clock and get themselves a caffeinated drink. That is very unfortunate because caffeinated drinks stay in the bloodstream for a long time and the caffeine stays in the system for up to 6 hours, which means that at the time that the adolescent is ready to sleep, the body is pumped with caffeine. And for those that are particularly susceptible, which is not everybody, but for those that are, that is a really big problem because they already have a problem getting to sleep, being adolescents, because of their physiological changes in sleep, but now they're also pumping themselves with caffeine. That's a problem.
So when you do suggest to teenagers, have this short nap after school possibly, how do they respond?
It's interesting that many of them say, no, I'm not going to do any napping, not going to do any napping. That's just, I can't nap. It's a waste of time. It's silly. I can't nap anyway. It takes too long. And I say to them, well, do you want to continue to feel tired? Would you rather feel on top of your game? Would you rather feel better? Not only in terms of sleep, but we know that sleep has a massive relationship with mood, anxiety, depression, school performance. And at the times when adolescents need to be on top of their game and they need to be feeling right and doing as well as they can, if they're not, why wouldn't they take a nap? So I say to them, you don't have to take a nap, but if you're sleeping on the weekend, you're going to really muck up your sleep health, and that's going to be very detrimental because it's in a whole range of ways. If you don't want to take a nap, that's your choice, but then you can't really come to me and say, I'm really tired and I really need to get this fixed up and I need to go to bed earlier, but you won't get to bed earlier. You won't stay in later in the morning. this is a good solution.
Mm-hmm. And for those teenagers that do manage to master the nap, what do they come back and tell you about how it affects them?
They like it because they can control it. It's a controllable entity. The difficulty with many of the adolescents is, one, they don't understand how sleeping in late on the weekends can be detrimental. And two, they feel tired and overworked all the time. They're stressed. They're working really hard. They've got lots on their plate. Napping can give you recuperation. It seems to be a no-brainer. Now, I understand their reticence because I have difficulty napping. I've got strategies around how I do that, but I'd much prefer to nap than to feel tired and lethargic all day long and not be able to do the things that I need to do.
Mm-hmm. So can you just recap for us some guidelines, whether it's for parents or teenagers, about, what are some guidelines to help them nap effectively?
Okay, so napping for 20 minutes, not much longer, because otherwise they will go into deep sleep and that's not helpful. 20-minute nap about 4 o'clock in the afternoon after school will be sufficient to give them 3 hours of high performance time. So if it's later than 4 o'clock, it's not going to be helpful because it's too close to bedtime and they will stay awake for longer. They have to be tired to get to sleep at night. So a 20-minute nap after 4 o'clock. It's much better than sleeping in on the weekend. So sleeping on the weekend a lot is not a good idea. The nap is much more preferable. It's also important to understand that if the nap does go for longer, for perhaps an hour or 2 hours, if that's not really a nap, that's actually a sleep. Nonetheless, if they sleep for too long in the day, they are not going to get that sleep at night time because of the amount of sleep that we need in a whole 24-hour period. So only 20 minutes will allow us to get good performance recuperation, good health recuperation without interrupting our nighttime sleep. And for parents, it's really important to understand that adolescents are sleepy. They do need some more sleep and that napping is a great alternative.
Mm-hmm. Thanks so much, Sarah, for that really practical advice to help give teenagers a natural energy boost.
Thanks, my pleasure.